Hey, good morning everyone, Tractorman 44 here. Hey, we're still working on this old 44 and I'm going to jump ahead. Actually, it's still included in the carburetor servicing, but we're going to make this a separate video about making a gasket. I don't know if you guys know, but I do a bunch of stuff on TikTok too. Usually they're little short blurbs and everything, but I try to direct people over to the YouTube channel for the longer versions of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make just a specific video on making a gasket for the Zenith carburetor that's on these old 44s. So hang in there just a little bit, take a look, see, and I'll show you exactly what we do. Not all the times, but sometimes. Now if you notice, I've got the carburetor held in the vise, snug but not tightly, because it is a cast body. And you know, you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure on these cast bodies. But the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of light gauge typing paper, and you can see I've already located one hole, but we're going to locate these 4 holes right here on the corner. So I just got that one lined up, sitting right there. So I've got that first hole located. We'll pull that out and run one of the screws in there to kind of hold that position. Now the next thing we're going to do is find the other side right here. That's why it's important to have a small punch, especially a tapered punch like that works really, really well. We're going to secure it with all 4 bolts or mounting screws. Now what I've done, I put that graphite on there and I'm running it around with my finger. That graphite provides lubrication and allows you to really put some pressure on that and draw that indention of the carburetor outline and hopefully the orifices or the holes very, very well. You can take the screw out one at a time in order to get around the screws, but I'll come back once I get done with that. So here you are. You can see, if I get the glare just right, you can see the outlines perfectly on the carburetor. And because you actually put that lubrication on there, you can see a pretty crisp layout on the back side even without the graphite. Now the graphite works well simply because it allows you to slide right around there and not do damage to the paper. If you spray it with WD-40 for a little bit of slicky or a little bit of oil, what you're going to do, you're going to stretch that paper and your gasket's going to be much bigger than what you really wanted. This graphite seems to do a pretty good job. All you got to do is just kind of clean your hands up a bit. So now we're going to go about the business to go ahead cutting this guy out, and then we're going to lay it out on the gasket material and then cut it again. So here's our end result. This is going to be our pattern right here. Here's the other side here that I rubbed the graphite on and everything, you know. It's a little aggravating, a little time consuming, but at least that's the pattern. So now we're going to go ahead and take it, we're going to transfer it to this piece of gasket material here, and then we'll go about the business of punching that out. Now bear in mind, there's nothing that says you have to do it this way. This is just a way that I found to where I can get actually a more accurate transfer of the shape of the actual carburetor body. But at any rate, I've done it various ways, just nothing but a ball peen hammer, you know, and a punch, just not a big deal. But this does seem to work pretty well. And I don't know why, but I've never managed to keep one of my patterns. I should lay that out and make that out of sheet metal, mark it Massey 44 Zenith, and then put it in my carburetor box. But I just never have. But now that we've got that pattern laid out, we'll just trace that as accurate as we can. If you do it just right, you can actually put that gasket material right on top of the carburetor and you can run an X-Acto knife right around the inside of that float bowl. I've done that. That works very, very well, as a matter of fact. I probably should have done it on this one here. But this is for the TikTok viewers that happen to come over to the channel. The main thing you got to remember is there's not one correct way to do any of this stuff. You know, this stuff is old. I mean, you know, we're talking about 70-year-old tractors or something like that. So, I mean, it's not that critical. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish marking this out. Then we're going to cut that, and then we'll come back and see how it fits. Now I've got everything transferred. It's time to go ahead and take all the screws out of it. Set our pattern off to the side, and then we'll go ahead about the business of cutting this guy off right around the outside. This way I'll go ahead and use scissors or 10 snips, probably 10 snips. You can leave it a little bit wider, it doesn't matter. You got a little bit hanging outside the carburetor. Gives a little more support to it actually. Like I say, you're not trying to make an OEM part, you just want to make something as nice as you can. Now we'll go about the business of punching all this stuff. So I'll go ahead and get started on that the big ears with the razor knife, and then we'll trim it up probably with the tin snips. Well, here we go. It's not absolutely perfect, but it's going to be just okay. There's a little bit of a booger right there, but that's okay. That's going to be right out here on the edge where there's still casting underneath it. So if I put just a little bit of gasket sealer right on that, see, that's going to be right out here on that cast. So that's not that big of a deal. Would I like it to be a little bit better? Yeah, I really do. But you know what? It's not that bad. And here's the gasket mounted on the valve body. Like I said, it's not perfect, but it's doggone close. And it's going to be perfect for many years to come, providing I get the tractor to start, because I'll show you another problem that we got coming on. I went ahead and put the gasket in between the valve bodies, and I've got it sitting there just kind of holding into place just to make sure it kind of seeks its own, so to speak. Now, I'm not totally tickled to death with the way it turned out. It's a little rougher than normal, but that doesn't matter. It is definitely going to function fairly well. And you can do the same thing many ways. You could have made the entire thing with just a ball peen hammer and an X-Acto knife, you know. But I don't know. I just kind of like to do it the hard way, I guess. At any rate, that's about all there is to this one here. And even though the carburetor is together, there is another problem. And you're going to see that very, very shortly. And so you know what? This is Tractor Man 44, and I'm out of here, guys.